of this reprocessed material, you can't now have the parts that, so you want to, let's say, as one possibility, you want to dope it with things that are heavy neutron emitters so that before you can actually get an ignition, it just kind of fizzles. You actually wanted to dope it with very hot radioactive things so that unless you had very sophisticated remote glove box arrangements, you'll be killed. Okay? So we call that self-protecting. And a number of other ideas so that just the hijacking of the shipment of the fuel from one place to another doesn't open you up to this. This is an important part. And so the Department of Energy wants to develop proliferation-resistant methods before we go into reprocessing.
Mr. Secretary, I think we have time for one last question.
Mr. Secretary, a year ago you were plucked from a prestigious business and academic career and plunged into the political morass that is Washington. What has surprised you the most, or what lesson has been the most valuable for you in terms of negotiating the politics that perhaps weren't so evident in your former life? I mean, for example, as a scientist, when you contemplate the climate change issue, it has to be frustrating to hear the political arguments against taking action.
Well, it depends. For example, I think first, the reason I'm doing this is because I care so deeply about it, number one. And number two, that the United States can lead the way to a solution to the energy and climate problem. And that a solution is possible. Okay. And that if whatever I can do to get us towards those solutions, that would be worth anything. Now, the good news is, I think I've been told by members of Congress from both sides of the aisle that they don't treat me like the normal person who's in a cabinet. I try to answer questions. I come in and we try to talk about what do we know? What does science tell us about this? What do we know about what might be possible? And I hope I come across not trying to sell bill of goods or overselling, but this is possible. This is hard. This is unlikely. This is unlikely to occur 5 or 10 years from now. We have a good shot at it, and also to open up things where, because of my connections in the research community and because I'm a techie and I like to know what's going on and what's in the minds in the most innovative companies and in the most innovative laboratories and universities and national labs, that I can give them a glimpse of what might be possible, but I say might be a long shot, this is not. This is good because it makes it seem like we don't, sometimes say, we can't do this. It's impossible. It would require a miracle. And I said, well, no, not really. But it's going to be hard, but it's possible. And so what I like about this is now there's certain people who've just decided they're not going to come around, and so that's life. And I'm not so wildly optimistic that I think I can convince everybody. But a large, actually bipartisan group are willing to listen and willing to actually, and they can sit their staff and go back and research what I said, and that's great. And so as we continue to do this, then they can build, say, okay, here's someone who actually knows something technically about some of these issues and can open their eyes to saying this is possible. But I go back to the final thing. It's not only possible, first we have to do it because of the climate issue, but it's an incredible opportunity. This is our lead to lose. Why should we cede high-tech manufacturing anywhere in the world? Why this transition to a clean energy, which is essentially a new second industrial revolution, where the first industrial revolution gave us all the energy we want in order to create unimaginable wealth. Now we've learned that we can't do this without some sense of sustainability, which includes carbon emission. So it's a little harder. Now we've got to get the energy we've gotten used to, but in a much cleaner way. Okay. That's going to require a rebuilding of existing infrastructure, a creation of new infrastructure. It requires incredible intellectual ingenuity and invention. It's going to create a lot of jobs for a long time because it means that you actually have to transition entire infrastructures and economies. This is great. This is a job creation. And it's a high technology issue, so the American innovation and R&D system is still the best in the world. So why shouldn't we take the lead?
Mr. Secretary, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for being on C-SPAN's Newsmakers.
Right.
We appreciate your
you.
time.
All right, great.
Chris Hawley of Energy Daily and Joseph Hebert of the Associated Press. Chris, we just talked to the Secretary, talked about Copenhagen and the effort they're going to put forth there, the Obama administration. What did you hear?
Well, I think they have decided to do a real full court press in Copenhagen. They're sending 5 cabinet members, including Secretary Chu, and 2 senior White House officials over there to make the case that even without the legislation having been enacted yet, the United States is acting aggressively to reduce emissions across a broad set of fronts.
What will Secretary Chu's role be at Copenhagen?
Well, he's been identified as selling the message on energy efficiency and renewable energy initiatives that the United States has taken. There's $80 billion in the economic stimulus law devoted specifically to efficiency and renewables. He's going to make the case to European, African, Asian delegates that even in the absence of legislation, this spending will reduce U.S. emissions.
And Joe Hebert, you asked about India and China. What did you hear in his answer?
Well, 2 things. One is that I think the administration hopes that if they can get India and China to commit to something, and if they can show significant progress in that front in Copenhagen, it'll come back in the spring and help them pass a bill in Congress. One of the biggest criticisms that there is, and one that sort of resonates, is why should we do something that's going to hurt us economically when China and India, which are going to produce huge amounts of carbon dioxide, are not doing anything. So I think, and he seems to, the other thing that came out is I think the administration, correctly or not, seems to think that it can get China to do things. In the same respect, I think he also has made clear that the administration is ready to do a little deal making in Congress. Maybe put a little more nuclear into a bill, but seems to be confident that it can get a bill, even though right now they're way short of getting the 60 votes in the Senate, and there are centrist Democrats, as well as almost all Republicans, who are very opposed to this bill, saying it's an energy tax, or in terms of Democrats saying it could hurt places like Ohio and push jobs overseas, perhaps to China. So I think that seems to be where they think Copenhagen can help them on the Hill.
Joe Hebert of the Associated Press and Chris Hawley of Energy Daily, thank you both for your time.
Thank you.